YouTube family, what's Gucci? It feels good to be back, you guys, but tonight I was actually not really gonna upload a video because I really didn't have any ideas. Nothing really sold into my brain that I really wanted to feel like I needed to create. But then something else popped up, so I grabbed my little magic book, this little thing right here, and I started scribbling out ideas, and I was like, you know what? I am not gonna fail the Minolta game. Oh, shit. I am not gonna fail my gang out there, so I came out with an idea. 5 simple tips to improve your portrait photography. Now, this all stems from a shoot that I did last week with Vader Photos. My boy Coco, shout out to that man, he came super clutch. Also with Gabriel De La Cruz. It was his birthday, Gabriel De La Cruz's birthday, and so we went out to a field and we shot some dope portraits. Here's a little behind the scenes of that. All right, now like I was saying, I wrote down 5 easy tips and I'm gonna go over them with you. Now, these are very simple tips you can apply immediately to your portrait photography. I mean, they don't really require any extra money, which is why I think they're extremely useful. So, number 1, focus on those eyes. I don't care what you say, what you think, or what you're thinking when you're shooting a portrait. Always make sure you have your eyes in focus. Now, with modern day digital cameras, this is the Sony A7II. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I did shoot that entire shoot in digital because originally I was gonna shoot the EOS 3. I didn't have any film that was proper for that situation. I had Portrait 800 and, you know, in really broad day sunlight with a fast lens, it's not gonna work out. But anyways, with most modern digital cameras, they will have something called eye autofocus. And basically the camera will be able to go ahead, lock onto those eyes and then, you know, instantly take that photo. Now that's a good thing. But what about those of us who shoot manual focus cameras on film, right? The easy way to do it is by switching your lens if you have that option, or if you're already just using a manual focus lens, into manual focus. And you want to go ahead and make sure you focus on that eye. Focusing on the eye will draw intimacy with you and the viewer of the photo. When I say you, I mean the subject, as well as be able to complete the portrait. No portrait is going to look good without somebody's eyes in focus. So that's the golden rule. Number 1, always focus on their eyes when you're shooting portraits. Number 2, now let's say, for example, you're shooting somebody that's a friend or, you know, even a client if anything, and they are not a model. Maybe you're doing grad pictures or somebody just wants some really cool pictures for their Instagram social media. What do you do if you don't know how to pose them? It's simple. Simply get closer. An easy way to be able to draw intimacy and draw more emotion to a photo is to simply get closer in street photography, in landscape photography, also in portrait photography. The closer you get to the subject, the more of an effect it will be on the image. So, an easy way to do that is, first of all, take your camera. You know, if you're standing far away from them, if they're kind of just in a really awkward straight pose, easy way is just to go in closer, maybe cut off some of that arm and just focus on that head and half their torso. Take a nice image. Make sure you create some negative space in between under the arms as well. Wow, I just bumped that in there. If you're not too fond with poses, make sure you guys go onto your app store and download the posing app. It's literally called the posing app. That's it. And it's really awesome because it'll show you some options to be able to pose different men, women, couples, whatever you want. So this is great. This is a great tool. I use it all the time, especially when I'm shooting somebody that is non-model and they don't know how to pose yet. Easily just pull that up, pick a pose for their particular personality, put them into it and shoot them. So not with a, you know, with a camera, of course. But that's tip number 2. Get closer and pose them accordingly. Honorable mention, if you don't know how to get closer with a lens, or maybe you have like a wide angle lens, like a 35mm, and you're shooting portraits, if you don't want to get too close, you can always switch to a more narrow focal length, like this 85mm lens right here. Now, the 85 is an absolutely wonderful lens when you're shooting portraits because it completely blurs out that background, as you guys see in these photos here. You know, getting closer to that subject and having them be isolated from that background will be able to, you know, create some really cool effects. So if you don't want to get closer with that 50, switch to a more narrow focal length like that 85mm or even 135mm. Tip number 3, keep the model's outfit simple. Now, I see this all the time, especially when people are starting to shoot portraits, or fashion portraits, I should say. And what they'll do is they'll go out there, put a bunch of chains on their model, throw a bunch of swag on them, different colors, different patterns, all this stuff that's conflicting. And then they'll even throw them into a really cliche setting, like under a tree or maybe against a wall. It's all about being simplistic with your backgrounds, with your poses, also with your outfits and clothing when you're first starting out, because too much stuff going on is always going to throw the viewer off. The more simplistic and straightforward that image is, and the more you can just feel the portrait, you're going to make better images doing that. So I recommend doing the 3-check system. It's kind of something that I don't want to say developed, because I'm sure somebody else has done this before, but I always think to myself first, is the background distracting? Are there anything poking out? Is there something that's distracting me away from that subject? If so, adjust and change your background. Stick to simple backgrounds such as trees, such as bushes, shooting shade. You know, make it so simple to the point where it's just your subject. 2, is my subject's pose simple enough and straightforward? I see a lot of people trying to imitate a lot of other models. You know, they do all this stuff and they do this. It's cute, right? It's cute in some situations because those models are professionals. They are trained and they've done it before. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have the confidence to pose like that, but what I am saying as a photographer, if your model doesn't look good in the frame doing a pose, don't be afraid to adjust. After all, you are the director and you want to be able to make sure that whatever you're framing within your frame looks good, because you don't want them to see an image of themselves looking ridiculous, right? So always keep that simple pose. Easy way is for women, hands on the side, create negative space, have them put their weight on the back leg, their hind leg, leg, and then also try to make sure, you know, depending on their personality, their body type, you try to do the flattering poses. You don't want to do poses that aren't gonna, you know, flatter out their good parts. So just keep simple poses simple and be straightforward with it. And finally, number 1, always double check their outfit. You know, I told Gabriel on this shoot not to wear too many colors. I want it to be so simplistic. I also planned out ahead of time the colors of the outfit according to the location. Now, I told him we were gonna go into this really nice gray, or I should say yellow hayfield looking thing. It's California, what do you expect? We're golden, so I took him out into that golden field and I wanted a contrasting color, something that stands out but is not too poppy. And so I made him wear this camo shirt looking thing along with that chain, and that chain is going to be super simple with that, and it's going to be a nice contrast between the subject and the background. So you want to have contrasting colors, stuff that works together, but it's not going to be too distracting. Does that make any sense? Basically, keep your outfit simple. If you know my friend Gabriel, you know, he likes to swag out. If that's the type of person you're shooting, and if they want to do that, by all means, do it. But make sure that it's not to the point where it's extremely distracting. Number 4, shoot backlit. Now, backlit is basically when you have the sun or any type of light source behind the subject. Now, this is great for a number of reasons. First of all, it kind of gives the person a glow, an illumination. It looks like they are extremely godly. But this gives you the advantage to be able to play with light, with sun flares, also with that halo behind their head. It's just a really nice situation to be in. An easy way to do this is to go out during golden hour. Now, because it is summer, the sun around California sets at around 7:30, 8 o'clock. You want to wait till that time where the sky is lit and all of the colors on the tree and the sun is just extremely golden. The sun is just about to go down over the horizon. And what that allows you to do is it'll allow you to be able to achieve effects like this. Now in these photos here, Gabriel was standing backlit. You can see right here I have one of him looking straight faced and also one of him smiling. But it's a beautiful way to capture people, and you know, it's one of the things that a lot of people do all the time. And last but not least, tip number 5. Use foreground. Now, I'm not talking about foreground like landscapes where you have something directly in front and then you have the subject far away. That is usually used to show a sense of scale, I feel like. But what I'm talking about in foreground is using objects directly in front of your lens to shoot. Now, example, my friend Manfrotto's Coco, my boy, he just grabbed a handful of that weed. Are they weeds? I don't know, weed. And then he went ahead and put it in front of the glass of his lens. The effect that you get from it is this really cool blur effect. And you can also position the model directly behind, some weeds or some trees to be able to do that as well. A lot of the greatest photos are used with some foreground. You know, people like Jessica Kobisi, some of the other people out there who are extremely famous for portraits, they use stuff like prisms. They use stuff just out in the nature, whether it's a leaf or some gel that they put in front of their lens to create these really cool effects. I'm gonna pop up a picture here. This is using foreground. Now, I'm gonna tell you straight up, this effect was really hard to get because it is not a natural foreground. It's not something that you can just go out there and shoot. What you're looking at is actually Vader photos. He had his arm like this and he had a gap between his head and his arms, like, because he was shooting a vertical portrait. And I perfectly got to frame Gabriel right inside of that gap. So I just got really lucky there, but use foreground to your advantage to be able to throw them in front of the lens, create some separation between your subject and your camera. After all, you're shooting portraits, which means you have full control on what goes into your frame and what you want to be seen. So use foreground to your advantage, keep things completely simplistic, focus on those eyes, and also, if you need to, get closer. So folks, that's gonna wrap it up on my 5 simple tips to easily improve your portrait photography. I hope you guys go out and try this out yourself. I highly recommend everything. Shoot backlit as well, like I was saying earlier. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you guys have any tips to offer beginner portrait photographers like myself or like others, let's go ahead and get the talks going in the comment section. I love hearing what you guys have to say. So just want to say thank you guys for being an amazing audience. We're almost to 17,000 subscribers, and I appreciate every little single one of you. And as always, Minolta Gang.